Hey guys, today we are going to learn about the skeletal system. So let's begin the same. So this skeletal system is also known as osseous system. It makes a bony framework of our body. So mostly the 80 to 20% of person's body weight will be due to this particular different bones present in our body. In some of the books you might find out it's 80%, in some of the books it's 20%. So nearly 80 to 20% of body's weight will be due to this skeletal system. It mainly supports as well as it also protects our body, and that is this bony structure provides the shape as well as form of our body structure. So when you study this skeletal system, its structure, its functions, so that kind of study in the science is called as a osteology. Now let's see some of the functions of skeletal system. So mainly there are five functions. First one is a support. This skeletal system supports our body. Mainly the backbone is the main support system of upper part of the body. It holds your head as well as it also protects your spinal cord. The second system is a movement. So this skeletal system help us to move our body with the help of muscles. Your legs, your arms, with the help of muscles, you are able to move it. Third one is the protection. This bony structure of our body mainly protects our different organs like brain, heart, lungs, etc. The next function is the bones makes blood. The process of making this blood is called as a hematopoiesis. The bones are having a marrow which is present in the center of the bones, and that marrow is going to produce different kind of blood cells like red blood cells, white blood cells. So in this way it is going to help you formation of the blood. The next one is the storage. So different minerals are stored in the bones like calcium and phosphorus. Our skeletal system is not only composed of bones, but there are various things which combine together and make the whole skeletal system. So let's see the skeletal system is composed of what kind of things. So first one, definitely it's a bone. Second one, it's cartilage. We also have various joints in our bodies. We also contain ligaments in a skeletal system. So two bones are usually combined together or joined together with the help of ligaments. And also, not the least, the tendons are also there. So these tendons are the attachment to the muscle systems. So these are the some of the components which are present in our skeletal system. So before starting further or moving further, let's see the different functions of these components. Starting with the first one, the function of bones. So the bone is very helpful for the support of our body. It gives a shape to our body. So different parts, especially the upper parts, is hold or supported by the bones. Second function is the protection. So different organs are present in our body are protected by the help of bones. Then it also help us to store the different minerals as we have discussed earlier. The calcium, phosphorus kind of minerals are stored in the bones. And last one is a blood cell formation. So in the marrow of the bone, the blood cells are produced. So these are the some of the functions of the bones. Moving towards the functions of the cartilage, so it plays a role in a bone formation. It provides a smooth cushion between adjacent bones. So usually this cartilage is present at the end of the bones, especially the long bones, and it work as a cushion in between the those bones. So whenever there will be any shock or any kind of compression in between the bones. At that particular time, this cartilage help them or support them, and there will be no friction in between the bones. It provides a firm, flexible support to nose, ear, ribs, trachea, etc. So it's a best, or you can say excellent shock absorber. The next, what we are going to see is the function of joints. So there are various function of joints like articulation. It acts as a functional junction between bones. It binds parts of the skeletal system together. This bone also makes it possible to for the growth of the bones. It permits part of skeleton to change the shape during the childbirth. It also enables body to move in response to skeletal muscle contraction. So there are various function of the different joints. If we talk about the functions of the ligaments, then these ligaments are attachment between bone to bone, and they provide the stability to bones, or you can say our body structure. Now, if we talk about the tendons, then tendons are the attachment of bones to the muscles, and they work, or you can say they anchor the muscles to bone for a movement. So that was all about the different components and their function of our skeletal system. So in a generalized way, if we talk about the skeletal system, it is composed of 206 bones. But whenever we were in a childhood, or whenever we were a child, at that particular time, our bones are more in amount. But later on, as we grow, these different bones get fused together, and later on, when we have enough growth, so at that particular time, we are only remaining with the 206 bones in our body. If we talk about the male and female skeletal system, then yes, there is definitely some of the difference in between the same. Like male skeletal system is usually longer, and it has a high bone mass, means whatever the weight of that particular bone will be more than the female skeleton. And in a female skeleton, you can find it out the broader pelvis, because that pelvis region will help, or broader pelvis region will help the female for accommodate for pregnancy as well as the childbirth. So this is how the male and female skeleton is different from each other. So structurally, our skeletal system is a very complex system. It composed of 25% of water, 35% of organic solids, 45% of inorganic salts of calcium. So this bone mainly divided into two parts, compact bones and spongy bones. So we will see one by one compact bones and spongy bones. So starting with the compact bone. So this compact bone, as the name suggests, it is having a structure which is very compact. It is having very less space in between the same. So it is also known as dense bones, solid bones, or cortical bones. It is a harder outer layer of a bone. So but the structure, whenever you are going to see, it doesn't look like a homogeneous, but yes, that structure is homogeneous in the way. It consists of closely packed osteons, and these closely packed osteons, when come together, that particular system is called as a Haversian system. So these osteons are the basic structural unit of compact bones. This osteons looks like a ring-like structure because of the it consists of a neighboring osteons. So it's a kind of a ring which are present, you can see in the tree. So in the tree, the ring-like structure you are seeing, the same way in the compact bones you can see the ring-like structure. It is made up of osteons. So this Haversian system is made up of Haversian canal, Haversian lamellae, and lacunae. So now let's start with the different parts of this Haversian system, starting with the concentric lamellae. This concentric lamellae is nothing but a circular plates which are present in an extracellular matrix. So as you can see over here in the picture in the red ring or red structure circle, so that is your concentric lamellae. So it looks like a circular plates which are present over each other. The next is Haversian canal, which is also called as a central canal. So over here you can see the blue and red line which is present in a lamellae, concentric lamellae in between the same or in the center of the lamellae. You can see this red and blue lines. So that is nothing but the Haversian canal. So there will be one passageway for neurovascular and lymphatic system, and that passageway is nothing but this your Haversian canal. Next is lacunae. This lacuna is a small space between a concentric lamellae in this particular space where osteocyte cells will going to reside. So this lacunae, when you are going to see in a structure, there are two lamellae. So when two lamellae will be adjacent to each other at that particular time in that particular structure, you can find out a pit-like structure. So that pit-like structure is a lacunae. Next one is a canaliculi. It's the extensions of the lacunae. So it looks like a branch like structure. So that canaliculi is filled with extracellular fluids and osteocyte processes. It works as a channels for the transport for nutrients as well as waste. So till now we have seen concentric lamellae, Haversian canal, lacunae, as well as canaliculi. Now we are going to see the interstitial lamellae. So this interstitial lamellae are the fragments of old osteons. So this interstitial lamellae, or you can say fragments, are going to eventually removed off from that particular part. So that is called as a interstitial lamellae. Next one is perforating or Walkman's canal. These are the canals that penetrate compact bone to allow neurovascular to enter the bone. In the structure, as you can see at the side of the bone, you can see the one canal like structure, or you can say red and blue lines are there, or tube like structure is there. So that is what your Walkman's canal is. So this Walkman's canal or perforating canals helps to bring nutrients to the bone for the bone formation as well as for the bone change. And the last one is circumferential lamellae. So that circumferential lamellae, as the name suggests, is the circumference, whether it's outer or inner circumference. You can see the same outer circumference I have shown over here. The inner circumference will be seen in the medullary cavity. So that is your circumferential lamellae. This circumferential lamellae is important for the appositional growth. So what is this appositional growth? It's a growth of the bone, increase in a width but not in a length. So bone are going to grow in the width and not in the length. So that is what the appositional growth is, and that will be held with the circumferential lamellae. So at the end, all the structures are shown over here: lamellae, canaliculi, what is the osteon, so what is a Haversian canal, Walkman's canal. All these structures are mainly shown over here in this picture. You can see the same. So that was all about the compact bones. Now let's move towards the spongy bones. So these spongy bones are called as cancellous bone or trabecular bone. So they are found in the inner part of the flat bones, body of vertebrae, as well as the rounded ends of the long bones. So these spongy bones are, as the name suggests, they are spongy in nature. So they'll be having some spaces in between the bone structure. So that is spongy bone. So why these spongy bones are porous in nature or they are spongy in nature? So the reason is there is a very less calcification found in a spongy bone area. So because of the same, they are porous in nature. So that could be asked in a 2 marks question as a comment that spongy bones are porous in nature. So at that particular time you need to write it down, this particular thing. These spongy bones have numerous spaces, and in this space a red bone marrow will reside. And this red bone marrow, as we have discussed, it help us to make a formation for the red blood cells, or you can say white blood cells. So different kind of blood cells will be produced by the red bone marrow. So these spongy bones are weaker and easy to fracture. They consist of plates. These plates are called as a trabeculae, and the bars of bone adjust into small and irregular cavity. If you are going to see this particular spongy bones, or you can say the plates, which are called as trabeculae, they are arranged in a haphazard manner, but they are actually not arranged in a haphazardous manner. They are organized in a way that is going to give you the maximum strength into your body, or you can say into your bony structure. So that particular trabeculae are not arranged haphazardly, but they are organized in such a way that is going to give you the maximum strength. So that was all about the compact bones and spongy bones. The remaining one in the bone is the bone marrow. So we'll see about the few things regarding the bone marrow, and this bone marrow could be asked in an examination 5 marks question that write down the short note on bone marrow. So let's see the scene. So this is a structure which you can see that from where bone marrow injection has been usually given. So it's a posterior superior iliac crest. So in this, whenever the injection has been given, the needle goes through the outer layer of the bone until it reaches to the bone marrow space. So this bone marrow, as we have discussed, it helped to form different kind of blood cells like white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets. So this bone marrow is found in the spongy bone in the bone canals. There are mainly two types of bone marrow: red bone marrow and yellow bone marrow. So yellow bone marrow usually contains the fat cells, whereas the red bone marrow produces the stem cells. And from these stem cells, the platelets, WBC and RBCs are formed. So this bone marrow, when you are going to see, it looks like a jelly-like mass. But this bone marrow is present in all the bones at the birth, but as the time passes, it eventually gets converted into yellow adipose tissues. But it is not going to convert at all the places, but it remains as a red bone marrow in some of the places like ribs, sternum, and vertebrae. If we talk about the functions of bone marrow, then it forms hemoglobin and RBCs. It protects our body against different kind of microbial infections and from the foreign bodies. It helps in development of thrombocytes. It forms granulates, types of WBC, as well as it destroys old RBC with the help of reticuloepithelial cells. So that was all about the bone marrow. Now let's see some of the cells which are present or which are found in our bones. Starting with the first one, that is osteoblast. So these osteoblasts are the bone forming cells. The second one is osteocytes. They are mature bone cells. And last one is osteoclast. So these osteoclasts are the breakdown bones. So starting from the osteoprogenitor cells, osteoblasts will be formed, and as these osteoblasts will grow, they'll become the osteocytes. Now the next one what we are going to see is the classification or types of bones. So this is very much important in terms of skeletal system, that what are the different types of bones or what is the classification of bones. So this could be asked in a 5 marks question. So please take an important note of the same. So bones are divided into 5 classes: long bones, short bones, flat bones, irregular bones, and sesamoid. You can see different types of bones over here: flat bones, irregular, short bones, sesamoid, and long bones. So we'll see the details one by one. Long bones are usually found in your limbs. So each bone is made up of body and two extremities. So that body portion is called as the diaphysis, whereas the two extremities or the side parts of the bone is called as the epiphysis. The wall of these particular bones are usually dense tissues, and the central canal is usually made up of medullary canal, which is filled with the marrow. So over here you can see the diaphysis and two extremities, that is epiphysis. So here you can see the different bone structures. Epiphysis, that are two extremities where the bone can grow. Then diaphysis, which is the shaft like structure of the bone. Periosteum, which is the outer covering of a bone. Medullary, where the bone marrow will reside. And endosteum, which is the lining of medullary cavity. This endosteum is composed of soft connective tissues which are helpful in healing of the different kind of bones fractures. So these are the some of the bone structures. So if in short, if you talk about the long bone, is composed of outer layer, that is periosteum. Inside the same periosteum you can find the compact bone. Then inside the compact bone you can see the spongy bones, and in the spongy bones in the medullary cavity you can find out the red bone marrow or yellow bone marrow. So this is the bone structure. So these are the short bones. So short bones are usually found in a skeleton where strength, compactness, and limited movements are desired. So the main two examples are arpus, so wrist bones you can say, and the tarsus, so which are found in a fit of our body. The flat bones are found usually where the protection is required or the muscular attachment is desired. So the main location of these flat bones you can find it out are the skulls and the scapula, or you can say the shoulder blade. So the irregular bones, as the name suggests, they are irregular in shapes. So mainly the bones which do not fit to any other categories are called as irregular bones. The main examples contains vertebrae, sphenoid bones, hyoid bones, etc. The last one is sesamoid or round bones. They are usually small and round in structure. They are embedded with tendons adjacent to the joints. And the best example of this sesamoid bone is a kneecap, or you can say patella. So that was all about the different types of bones. Now let's see the bone growth. So how does the bones develop? So in infants, most of the skeleton is composed of cartilage. This cartilage is nothing but a strong flexible tissue. But as the time passes on, this cartilage will get calcified and it will become a solid bone. But not all the cartilages are replaced in the adults. Some of the cartilage will remain as a soft tissue only, which is there present at the end of the bones, and that is going to help protect the bones during the frictions. So it works as a cushion between the bones. So this is how the bones will get developed. So the process of this bone growth is called as ossification. So there could be two kind of bone growth. First one is intramembranous ossification. In that bones are going to develop from a fibrous membrane, whereas second one is called as a endochondral ossification, in which, as we have discussed, then from the cartilage the bone structure is going to get made, and that is what the endochondral ossification. Over here, I have put one difference between the endochondral ossification and intramembranous ossification. So this could be asked in a 2 marks question, that write down the difference between the two. So you'll be able to easily write down from the same whatever we have discussed earlier, that is given in a differentiation form over here. So you can go through with the same. Now, definitely there will be so many factors that could contribute in a bone growth. So some of the factors I have mentioned over here. So first one is a nutrition. Definitely nutritions help in bone growth. Then second one is exposure to sunlight. So from the sunlight or UV rays, and you can find out the vitamin D that could be helpful for the bone growth. Third one is a hormonal secretion, different growth hormones, somatotropins. So all this going to help in the bone growth. Physical exercise is also one of the factor that contribute in a bone growth. So physical exercise should be there in the children's, so that will help them to grow their bones. So we have seen the bone growth, but definitely bone maintenance is also very much important. So osteoblasts are going to helpful for the formation of new bone tissues, whereas osteoclasts they are going to clear out the old bone tissues. So in that way, the bone maintenance will be there in our body with help of osteoblast and osteoclast. In this picture, you can see the bone formation or bone growth. So that was all about the skeletal system introduction. So now apply your knowledge. So why it is important for the bones to store the calcium? Do you have the answer? The answer is that every cell in our body needs calcium. So the body must have a large supply readily available. So where we can find out this calcium? In the bones.
So that was all about the introduction of skeletal system. In my upcoming video, I'm going to talk about the axial skeletal system and appendicular skeletal system. That is division of skeletal system. So don't forget to subscribe my channel for my upcoming videos. Thank you for the same.